This is California Edition. I'm Brian Pomerance. Thanks for joining us today. Our guest is Brian Dahle. He's a new member of the California State Assembly. He comes from Lassen. He was a member of the Board of Supervisors there. How's the new job, man? I mean, very different from Lassen Board of Supervisors, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, we come off of a Board of Supervisors where you have to count to three.
Right.
You got to get three out of the five.
Right.
And now it's 41, obviously.
Right.
So a little different environment. The opportunity to be here 12 years, I think, is
no doubt.
With the building relationships, and I think that's going to be a positive thing for California. I'm very excited about it.
You do come, though, at a difficult time as a member of the Republican caucus, in that this is the first time in decades that one party has a supermajority, and that's not your party. So how's that going for you?
Actually, I think there's still going to be great opportunities. I don't think the super minority that I'm in, we're going to find out here in a couple of weeks, actually, but I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think that the other party has its difficulties in trying to just steamroll us, and I quite frankly don't think they want to. I think they need to bring us along and want to work together.
You probably heard Speaker John Perez when asked what will he do with his new supermajority. He said nothing.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it was a pretty pithy comment.
I had a conversation with the Speaker for about 45 minutes, and he mentioned the same thing, that he wanted to work across the aisle and move California in a productive way forward.
I will say this, you got a plum assignment. You are Vice Chair of Rev and Tax.
Yes, I am.
That's a real committee. And how is that going for you? I know that you're a businessman yourself, a farmer, and so the business climate, both literally and metaphorically, when I say the word climate, is important to you.
Absolutely. The reason I ran for the state legislature is I am a business owner. I'm a third-generation farmer here in California. We have to make payroll at our business. As a county supervisor for 16 years, Lassen County is totally debt-free. We funded our.
How is that possible?
We funded our pensions, we funded our unfunded liabilities, and we have no debt. And we did that by educating our employees on where we were at in the budget process, being frugal when we, just like we do on the farm. When we had good years, we took care of debt, and on the lean years, we held the line with our employees.
Well, let's talk about the time we're in right now, 2013. Whether you support a Prop 30 or not, irrelevant for the purpose of this conversation, because as a result of its passage, it appears that California is not in the red. California may actually be in the black. Give or take a few billion, but that's a lot better than $46 billion from 5 years ago.
It does give us some breathing room, but at the end of the day, we still have a large debt out there that the state needs to focus on. We did realignment, the AB 109, which moved prisoners to counties, so that debt went with to the counties.
Let me ask you about that. I'm not sure if you're a signatory to a letter I've seen from both Democrats and Republicans in the legislature that are very concerned about how money is being allocated for prison realignment. A lot of members from the Central Valley are concerned that smaller counties are not getting their fair share of prison realignment dollars, even though they may have a lower number, but per capita, they face the same fiscal challenges.
Well, and they don't have room to house them. That's the case. We're taking them out of state prisons and put them into county facilities, and some of the counties don't have the room for those prisoners.
So you must know about Lassen as an example, a nice, fairly rural county. How is Lassen doing?
We actually have room for the inmates that are coming down right now, but we have enough room that we're contracting out to other counties.
That's how you saved your debt crisis.
We try to do things business wise there, but yeah, we had room, so we contract out with other counties. But Prop 30 has given us some breathing room to be able to for 7 years now, hopefully get the business rolling.
Well, so, Mr. Dahle, you mentioned that Prop 30 should give us some breathing room. And aside from Prop 30, there's this whole question about how California taxes. I mean, we are heavily reliant on capital gains, on high-income wage earners. And that's great when you have a big internet bubble, but it's not so great when you have a downturn.
Well, 5% of the 61% of the state's income budget comes from 5%.
Right.
So
exactly
those folks are going to be leaving the state if we continue to tax them. What we really need to focus on is creating jobs, which creates revenue tax-wise, puts people to work, grows the economy, which grows the stock market, which takes care of some of the long-term debt problems we have.
Let's talk about sales tax as an example. Prop 30 passes. In some counties, they have their own sales tax initiatives. I mean, there are some counties that are at or near 10% sales tax. Query whether that's a good thing. I'm not commenting. I'm neutral. But there are discussions, and other states are looking at whether we should lower sales tax overall, but spread out the items that can be taxed. Start taxing manicurists, lawyers, services. What do you think about that?
I'm opposed to that. Look, we're the highest taxed state in the union. We need, and when you mention local taxes, it just drives the consumers to different areas. In my district, I border in Oregon and I border Nevada. So Oregon has no sales tax, period. So people can travel out of my district into Oregon, buy their products, bring them back into California.
I want to argue, though, that if you lower the sales tax and spread it out, you'd have less ability or less likely to fly to Oregon, Nevada,
Absolutely.
or elsewhere?
Anytime you lower taxes or fees, it's going to keep your consumers closer to you.
So why is it, why are you opposed to that proposal then?
Well, I'd have to see the proposal. I have not seen that yet, and so obviously I'm interested in lowering any taxes or regulatory environment in the state.
There's no doubt, though, that you have looked at the question of property taxes. That's where counties get a lot of their money. And as you know, as well as anyone, Prop 13 passed in 1978 and it requires a 2/3 vote for any increase in sales, in any tax for that matter. There have been some tinkering as it relates to school bonds. There's now discussion about lowering the threshold more generally, be it for school infrastructure projects or otherwise, to 55%. What do you think about that?
I think the jury's still out on that. Look, Prop 13, if Prop 13 wasn't here, I wouldn't have my farm. That's just the bottom line. And
because of increasing property
right.
taxes.
And, prior to Prop 1378, county boards of supervisors were able to set the tax rate in their county, and that changed. And so the 2/3 vote, I think that represents a lot of the taxpayers, and I think that's a good thing. And there's obviously room for movement on some of those other districts, such as schools, and then we should take a look at that.
Okay.
But if it's really a need, the taxpayers typically will step up and vote when there's a real need for it, and I've noticed that
high.
It is high,
Yeah,
and it's hard to get. I've worked on many
right,
many local issues, but if you educate the voters, typically they will do the right thing.
Likewise, there's discussions about changing Prop 13 formulas, possibly keeping the formulas the same for residential.
Yes, and doing split rolls.
Split rolls, that's the term, and changing it for commercial. I'd love to hear what you think of that.
Anytime we mess around with Prop 13 and how we change it, split rolls versus single roll or residential, I think we're going to be driving businesses away from California. And we have the highest tax rate in the nation. I think that's plenty high. I think we should focus on creating jobs, getting out of the regulatory environment so we can give our business people some security.
I'm so glad you brought up regulation, because it is one of those areas where I feel as if there could be some bipartisan agreement. I mean, the governor of the state of California, a Democrat, has said on the record, we have too many damn regulations.
We do, and that's exactly why I ran for this office. I'm in business. I'm overregulated, overtaxed, mainly overregulated. And
right, that's what I've heard.
You need to give people who create jobs need security, knowing that if they're going to take the risk to put somebody to work, that they're not going to change the rules in the middle of the game.
So I've used this metaphor before. It's like Nixon going to China. Only Democrats could actually push through regulatory reform, because if it was a Republican, it would be seen as somehow too pro-business. So now you have a chance.
And I think there's a lot of Democrat support.
Right, but that's my point. Now's the time. Pounce.
Yep, there's 38 new freshmen came into the assembly. A lot of them have businesses in their communities that are overregulated, and I will be more than happy to work with them to move legislation that will keep business people in California, give them security, and to put people to work.
Speaker Perez ready?
I think so, absolutely. When I had my conversation with him, I believe he's ready. I think there's some in his party that might be a little tough to bring along, but I can get them on my side.
You only need 41. His name is Brian Dahle. He's a member of the California State Assembly. I'm Brian Pomerance. This is California Edition.